basically the structure for the remainder of the course for the rest of the weeks. Next week, if you've seen, normally I don't unhide a week's on the Moodle until we're at that week, but I went ahead and unhid next week's because next week's is basically a you use the time to do what you need to get done week. I do have something at school which was already going to impact a little bit, but also I think based off of what you're going to learn tonight and so on, that probably most of you are going to feel like your time is going to be best spent next week just getting a chance to sit down and focus on your Moodle. So it'll all work out. At most, I might post just some informational things, maybe not so much related to the Moodle, but more towards the Zoom presentations, although I'm going to go over that in detail tonight as well. But there won't be a WebEx meeting next week. So just use the time to do what you need to get done. All right. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
So then the following week, and I know several of you have noticed this, originally next week was the due date for the Moodles. That is officially pushed back a week. So the week following is the official week that the Moodles are due. That'll give you a couple more weeks to finish up whatever you need to finish up and to incorporate whatever feedback you learned tonight, and et cetera, et cetera. There is always the option of that late pass if you wish to use it. Although, to be frankly honest, that late pass thing was something that was handed over to me by the previous teachers of these classes. My own philosophy generally is one of, as long as you eventually show me that you've done it, you've done it. I'm not a huge one about to the day deadlines. But if you think you're going to be really struggling to get it done in a couple weeks, just let me know. And don't worry so much about the official request for the official 1 week extension and so on. It's just give me a sense of when you think you will have things finished up. It's really more about, I just want you to kind of have those cleared out of your way, off of your plate, before you're dealing with the Zoom presentations at the end. But if you need an extra week or so to get the Moodles finished up, I'm kind of okay with that. So that's the following week, and that same week online, the main focus is going to be about Zoom. I know from previous weeks I asked you to get a Zoom account to play around with a little bit, maybe to do a little conference with somebody in the class just to get a sense of what it's about. But I wanted to take a class to actually go through what you need to know in terms of using Zoom. What that may mean that week, we will start on WebEx, but at some point in that week's class, we may all shift to Zoom just to give you a chance to see what it's like in terms of its interface and the way that it works, because it's similar to WebEx, but it's not identical. So, but we'll start on WebEx at the very least in 2 weeks for that. Then the following 2 weeks, weeks 13 and 14, are when the presentations happen. I keep going back and forth between calling them presentations and lessons. It's really more of a lesson, but we use the word presentation from previously, so I might call it either one. And my hope is the presentations should be between 20 and 25 minutes long. That's your block of time. We're going to need a little bit of time in between each one for people to do a little feedback and kind of get ready for the next one. So my hope is that we can do 5 week 13 and 5 week 14, sort of in half-hour blocks. So 5, 5:36, 6:37, and get through 10 of you. That leaves 2 remaining, which we will do the final week, which is week 15. However, I also wanted week 15 to also be on campus, partly because we have to do the course evaluations, and that's easier to do in person. And I also just want to see everybody to kind of wrap things up. What I'm trying to figure out is how to let those last 2 people still get the experience of teaching the class online if we're all here on campus. So I've got some ideas. It may be a little weird. You may be asked to get to campus or somewhere nearby, but not actually to come to the lab, but just sit down somewhere with your laptop and view the other people's classes. And then the people actually teaching those last 2 lessons may come into the lab and use one of these machines as a machine they're teaching from. I don't know yet, but I can't have you stay at home and then suddenly drive here because there's not going to be enough time in the middle of class for everyone to drive here from home. So it will be on campus. I don't know if both labs are available. I may just have the person teaching go into the other lab while everyone else stays in one. It's going to be a little weird. I was trying to figure out if I could squeeze all the presentations into 2 weeks, but I think that's a little too much. What's that?
20-minute presentations instead of a half an hour, you could probably squeeze it.
Yeah, well, it's 20 to 25, but there is a little bit of time needed to get from one presentation to the next, and I mean it'll be fine. It just means that whoever those last, I mean the advantage is those last 2 presenters get a couple extra weeks to get their presentations ready. The disadvantage is that they may be in a little bit of a different situation rather than sitting at your home doing that. So. But that's the last class. So believe it or not, after this week, if you don't count next week, because there won't be one, we really just have 4 more class meetings after that. And one of them will be online WebEx with me. 2 of them will be online Zoom with your fellow classmates. And then the last one will be here on campus to evaluate and wrap up and do those final presentations. Oh, looked like you were trying to take it home with you. I'm just going to stick this in my... Yeah, yeah, you're gonna have to come with a pretty big set of bolt cutters to get the theft cable off of there. So anyway, so that's kind of the overview of what's left. Tonight, I am going, in addition to doing the Moodle beta testing, I am going to go over the Zoom presentations in a little more detail because I know there are questions about that. You did a little bit of your pre-thinking work for this week. I've created a list of all the topics that everybody submitted to me. I think I'm still missing a couple, but maybe I just missed them. And then, like I said, I'll go over sort of exactly what the point of that activity is and what you're expected to do and what you need to be planning over the next few weeks. And I don't know if it makes sense to schedule people's presentations this week or not. I don't know if you like to know this far in advance which week you would be presenting, or if you'd rather put that off until you have a little clearer sense of what it's about. We can talk about that when we get to talking about the Zoom presentations in terms of whether we want to get that far with it. All right, so I think that's what I had in terms of like announcements, other than things that potentially will be covered tonight's class in terms of Moodle and Zoom. Any other questions or concerns, sorts of things? I was noticing for those of you in 520, take a look at the flowcharts that are around the room and like how detailed. This was for, I don't know if these are current or not, but this is basically when we did our final projects when I was in the program. Like this one up on the wall over here looks a lot like what we had to come up with when we were writing our software for our clients in terms of a flowchart.
Oh my God, we don't have to write software, do we?
I don't think they do that
I'll
anymore.
Kill myself.
It was a flat. It was all using Flash, and I don't think they use Flash anymore. So I don't know what the sort of the capstone project of
I
the
just want to know
program
how
is
to use
anymore.
it and do lessons with my kids with it. I don't want to like.
Yeah. So, all right. So yeah. So let's get started with the Moodle part of tonight, which is the main part of tonight. So bottom line is the point of tonight is not necessarily for you to let somebody know what they haven't finished yet, because none of these are finished yet. They're not due for another couple of weeks. So it's not so much about going in and saying, oh, well, you're missing all of your videos, or, oh, you only have your first 5 units done. I'm pretty sure that the person whose Moodle it is knows that that is true. Okay, so that's not what tonight is about. Tonight is about looking at what is there and sort of splitting your brain a bit, half pretending that you're a student and half keeping an eye on being a teacher and sort of good educational practices, and to simply look at the work that somebody else has done, This is a safe, supportive environment. So we are looking for constructive help. We are looking to assist each other to improve what is there on a Moodle. So look at it from as many different directions as you'd like. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground in this course. I feel like we've just touched base on them, but we've talked about Gestalt principles of design, and we've talked about audio production principles, and we've talked about segmenting instruction and assessing instruction online, and all these different pieces. So as you look through somebody else's Moodle, simply evaluate it based on what is there. Look at what is there. If there's a lot there, you may not have a chance to watch every single video or go through every single activity, but kind of skim through it in that case. If a Moodle doesn't have as much stuff in it, you might be able to look at it a little more comprehensively. And then once you've completed that, all of the Moodles have a feedback activity at the top, because that's how I've been giving feedback to you. So you are going to leave feedback for the person electronically. So kind of summarize what you saw or suggestions. And it can be, this worked really well. And it can also be, I was a little confused when I got here. Maybe it's just because something's not there yet, or whatever. And then I'm also, for those of you who are here, and we are so that nobody's left out, we are also going to be looking at the Moodles of the people who are not here tonight, and giving them some feedback at least, just so that they're getting the same feedback. But if it's people who are here, you will then also have just a quick couple minutes to conference in person with the person whose Moodle you've looked at, just to, again, just kind of in person to clarify whatever you put in the comments. So the electronic comments are more so that once the person's gone home and is looking over the next couple of weeks, they can refer to that to remind them of things that came up. Getting to do it in person, I think, is just better, because you always communicate. We communicate better when we're talking to people face to face. So so that's the goal. It's about just getting several set of eyeballs onto the Moodle, onto what you've done, just to say, hey, if I was a student, I was a little confused about what I was supposed to do here. Maybe some more instructions would be useful. Or, wow, I really like the way that you divided this up. It was really clear. It was helpful. That sort of thing. So that then over the next couple of weeks, you've got that feedback to incorporate. That's the other thing I want to point out. Any feedback you receive, you are the person building the Moodle. It is your Moodle. So do not feel like you have to include every little suggestion that you receive from people. They are just that. They're suggestions. So if you really feel strongly that, no, I know this content well, I know that segmenting it in this way is the best way to approach it for my students. So regardless of the fact that somebody said, well, did you think about segmenting it this way? I'm going to stick to my guns and say, no, I feel strongly about this. So there's no expectation that if somebody's put something in the feedback that I'm going to be looking for that in your Moodle to be there. In the end, it's your instructional piece. It's your instructional tool. So you need to deliver it the way that you feel is best. But people may bring up something that kind of sparks an idea or makes you go, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Or yeah, I know about that. Maybe I better get that fixed. So so that's the goal. So we'll do this in several rounds. My hope is probably to do maybe 3, maybe 4 rounds of this. So you'll have a chance to look at several others, and you'll have a chance to have several look at yours. So you'll look at the Moodle. You will probably need to register for it as a student, which is the first time you go into it. If you haven't already, it'll ask you to just put in your name, and that just puts you in that Moodle as being somebody who's registered for it. Spend, I'm thinking 15-ish or so minutes looking through what's there. In some cases, that may be more than enough time. In other cases, it may be not enough time, but just to kind of keep us all on track. Then take a few minutes to do the written feedback in the Moodle itself. And then I'll give you a last few minutes, if the person is here in the room, for you just to get together and to debrief face to face. and then we'll just rinse and repeat. We'll go on to the next. Okay, I think I even put this in writing, so I think I got everything I said. So I think I originally I just said, oh, I just can have everybody pick a Moodle, but I think that's going to be too chaotic in terms of making sure that everybody's are getting covered. So I think it would work best to work in pairs. However, we do have the case that there are 4 students in the class that are not here. So I want to make sure that they're being paired up with somebody, that there's somebody in each round covering those as well. And as far as I know, it's Yamilka's, Kathleen's, Erica's, and James, right, is the other one. So that honestly, I didn't think far enough. Yeah, maybe what we'll do, I don't want to just focus on those 4 too, because obviously they're not here to give you feedback too. So maybe on each round, I'll call out 3 of the 4 and have one person take one of the 3 for that round, and then next round you can pair up with somebody actually. No, let me do 2 each round because I want an even number in here so that you guys can pair up in here as well. So yeah, if we do 2 each round, doing 4 rounds, that's going to give each one 2 or 3 people looking at each one. So I think that'll work. So yeah, so maybe for this first round, I'll just take the first 2 on the list. So we'll go with Erica and James for the first round. Are there 2 people? So one of you take Erica and one of you take James. So then the remaining 6 of you just really quickly pair yourselves up. So you'll be looking at the other person's and they'll be looking at yours. And that way at the end, you can just get together and debrief. You may need to, and actually this is something I've been meaning to suggest, the name of your Moodle, it might be helpful to quickly go into your settings, and if your last name isn't at least temporarily part of the name of your actual Moodle, like if it just says genetics, then just say like last name genetics. So I'm not picking on anyone. That one just happened to spring into my head. Just so that when we go into the list of Moodles, it's clear whose is.
Do you know what Erica's?
Oh, that's a good question.
But that's the short name, right? That's gonna change, not the course full name.
No, it would be the full name because the full name is what shows up in this page here. So let's see, Erica. Was she the ballet one? Okay, so let me write that down. So Erica's history ballet, and James is right there. He has his name on his.
Do you want our last name first, or?
Either one, first name, last name, just so that when people are looking at this list, they can go, oh, that's so-and-so's. And then let's see, Kathleen's, I think, is, was Kathleen language arts? No.
How did you get into other people's courses? Do you remember?
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So. And then I think Yamilka's is the last one. Spatial reasoning. Yeah. All right. So. Yeah, so the 2 of you that are looking at people who are not here, hopefully figure that out. The other 6 of you figure out who you're pairing up with to sort of swap Moodles. Do stay on your own machine. Don't go to the other person's machine, because then when you leave the feedback, it's going to be like the person's leaving feedback for themselves. So do it from your machine. And let's see, let's call it 5:30. So let's see what let's see what 15 minutes feels like. So maybe around 5:45. If you have not started doing the written feedback for the Moodle, then spend a few minutes doing that, and then we'll debrief, and then we'll swap.
Tanisha, your college first year?
Yeah. I mean, it's not done.
Yeah, and again, let me stress that because that seems to be the biggest issue of concern tonight. These are not done. You are not evaluating them as I would to give them a grade for their final project. This is looking at what is there and evaluating what is there. All right, and it may be a lot and it may be a little. Whatever is there because I didn't have any requirement that by tonight you had to be to a certain point. So yeah, so go ahead and log into the other person's Moodle, and let's say I'll say 5:45. If it looks like by 5:40 everybody is ready to move on, but take the time initially. Don't worry about writing your feedback initially. Just really kind of go through the Moodle and just poke into the corners and click on links. That's a good thing to check, is just to verify that links work, that they take you where they're supposed to take you, things like that. And then I'll give you like a 5-minute time or so to do the written feedback.
Melissa. Do you know her?
It's okay. I'll be her partner, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll.
No, she saw mine already, though, that's why.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
If there are quizzes and stuff on here, should we take them as if we were?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not, if you're not taking the whole course or the whole course isn't complete, who knows how you're going to do.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, even if you're just throwing random answers in there, just see like, what do you get when the quiz is done? Is it useful to you? Do you think if a student was taking it for real, do you think the assessment would do what it's supposed to do?
Okay.